Hi, my name's Kimberlie, and there's tons of people out there who already know who I am. I thought I'd come on today and just tell you a little reason why this channel. So I'm going to affectionately call my channel the K word, and because K can stand for so many things, but mainly Kimberlie. Now, what my plan is at the moment is I'm going to document a little bit of what it's like to live here in the UAE, where I've been continuously for the last 5 years, but I've been here in total for 6.5 years. So a little bit about me. So I'm a New Zealander, as you can hear. I've been out of New Zealand for 7.5 years. The adventure bug bit me on the backside, and I've explored quite a few places, but I've only lived in 2. So I first arrived in the UAE to Dubai, and then I had 1 year where I was lucky enough to experience the life in Kiev, Ukraine. It was stunning to be one of 13 New Zealanders in Ukraine. It was a real eye-opener too, being a minority. So I came back to the UAE, where I've just spent the last 5 years continuously. So this channel is going to be a little bit about who I am, but it's going to be a little bit more about the adventure that I'm about to go on. So I'm a teacher, I'm New Zealand trained, and I'm using my career as a way of opening up the world. I've done lots of little bits and pieces of travel, but the only reason I decided to get this YouTube channel up and running is because I spent 15 weeks teaching online to my year 2 students here in Abu Dhabi, and it showed me it's easy. The content was easy as a teacher. It's a little bit harder when you're focusing on yourself. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you a little bit about some of the fun that you can actually have here in the UAE. So I live in Abu Dhabi. I've lived downtown Abu Dhabi for the whole time I've been here, which is 3 years. Before that, I spent 2 years up in Sharjah. So I've been in 3 schools and I've been incredibly lucky with the classes that I've had. I am a more experienced teacher, so we'll get that out of the way. So join me. I'm going to show you a few bits and pieces around Abu Dhabi, some of the things that you can do if you were to come and visit, or if you're choosing a lifestyle here in the United Arab Emirates. What I will say is currently out there, it's well over 40 degrees. And let's not forget the humidity level. The humidity level is terrible. So I went to the beach yesterday with a friend. We lasted maybe 2.5 hours out on the beach, and then that was it. I made sure I drank the whole time, but still it was too much. So just be aware of that. So come join me and let's go and explore Abu Dhabi. So let me take you on this little journey. I went for a drive with a friend out to Al Wathba Jones, and that was the fun that we started having. So here you're going to find places like Ferrari World, Yas Mall, Climb, which of course is a really cool climbing thing that's actually just opened, Yas Water World, Warner Brothers, haven't quite made it there yet, and one of my favourite places, the Louvre. So let's talk about what it's like to live here in Abu Dhabi. Depending on the package, now when I talk about package, I talk about your housing and the things that you're eligible for. Now most companies here will have a package that they put people on. This has changed over time and it just depends entirely on your employer. One thing that is compulsory is health insurance, which is really good. So currently, I'm in a studio apartment that I'm currently trying to pack up, hence the reason why it's a bit empty out the back there, because I'm trying to pack up. After 5 years here in the United Arab Emirates, I'm ready for my next adventure. But I'm not saying just yet. It's going to be very different, is probably the most that I can say at the moment. So because we're currently in a pandemic, and here in the United Arab Emirates, we're very lucky in how we're being looked after. Masks are compulsory outside, and hence in part of that video you would have seen me holding onto a mask, but naughty to take it off. There's a big fine for not wearing it. Luckily it was too hot for people to be outside. So depending on your package, so here I've got a studio, it has AC, I'm 5 floors up and I look over, but it's some construction sites, but it's not too noisy. Now here in the United Arab Emirates, we do things by landmarks, okay? So there's no actual postal addresses. So you find a landmark. I'm lucky I have a cafe in my building, so a restaurant in my building, so you can say to people, you know, Copper Spoon building, you know, that kind of thing's really good. So I have everything I need within my apartment. Currently, at the moment, it's finished with my things, so that's part of my challenge at the moment is to move those things on, okay? And I'm kind of doing that a little bit slowly at the moment. So what you're going to see in the next part of my video is there's some of the places that I've been to over the last 7.5 years. Now this is definitely not all of them. That doesn't account for the short trips into Oman, which we're lucky to be able to do when the borders were open. As a New Zealander, you don't pay to get into Oman, which is beautiful. And the border guards get really excited when New Zealanders turn up to the border and welcome you in. So it's always been a pleasure of mine when I've driven through the borders to go into Oman, to, you know, make sure I'm really kind and that real pleasant, outgoing, laid-back Kiwi, and it's always gotten me a long way, okay, and it's been stunning. So I've had some amazing adventures out the back. So what I'll do is I'll give you a little bit of a quick commentary as these images are going past so that you can see some of the places and basically how long I was in those places for. Keep following. As the saying goes, let's begin somewhere. So my journey started in Dubai in 2013. And this was one of the special trips up the Burj Al Arab. Now this was just in the first floor, not in the fancy restaurant. 2014 brought about my trip to Ukraine. And one of the highlights, because I remember it as a child, is when the Chernobyl disaster happened. So I visited Pripyat and Chernobyl. I was incredibly lucky to spend Christmas in Moscow. One of the great things to visit here in the United Arab Emirates is the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque. As a teacher, we get summer holidays. So one of my summers, I chose to spend a month traveling the islands of Greece. The next spring break I spent 4 nights on the Maldives. And then we move on to the next summer break that I had, where I got to spend 6 weeks in the UK. This is a very special place to me. Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, Turkey is just divine. I'm in love with that building. And then 2 summers ago, I got to spend 2 nights on Sibanias Island at an Anantara resort. Last year, I spent the whole summer in Sri Lanka. And then in December, I was incredibly lucky to get into Nepal and travel around, where Chitwan was one of my favourite places with the elephants. So, let's talk about one little thing. Now, I know as a teacher, I get my summer holidays. So generally as a teacher, we get a month to 6 weeks. I work really hard for those holidays, but I also do lots of little bits of pockets of traveling. So I've got a little story of the most amazing experience that I've had traveling with two very good friends into the back of Oman. We went on a road trip. It was a long weekend trip. We stayed in a traditional Omani guest house, and we had the most stunning experience going around and looking at traditional building techniques. Now, we stumbled upon this person who was going to show us some gentlemen who were actually restoring the buildings into traditional Omani ways. And while we were there, we passed this elderly couple. Now, we were lucky to have an Omani guide with us, a stunning man who was actually able to translate for us. Now, this elderly lady invited us into her house. So remember, if you get an invite, you really do need to go. So we did, and she offered us the last food in her house. Now, being who we were, which were 3 New Zealand women, we repaid that kindness. Now, 2 of us stayed with both of these Omani people who don't speak English, which was an incredible experience. How you can communicate with someone when they don't speak your language. I think the most stunning thing to me is that the call to prayer went off. Now remember, the call to prayer goes off 5 times. And while we were there, the elderly gentleman got himself up off his bed. He's blind and deaf, but he can still get himself to the mosque to pray. It was stunning. Cars stopped, people waited incredibly patiently as he made his way, that obviously he's been doing for a long time, off his way to mosque. Stunned. So while we were there, we were talking, I don't know how we were communicating, but it was incredibly special. But one of the ladies that was with me and the guide popped off to the shop. Now, we picked up an incredible amount of food, which wasn't a lot of money to us, but it was an incredible lot of money to them. And we stocked all their staples in their house. We gave them fruit, we gave them rice, we gave them everything, fresh vegetables, that kind of thing that they would need to live on. I'm not sure how much we got. It was a lot. It was the most humbling experience in my entire life. And it still makes me well up. I will never forget that. And how we made their day. And it was just stunning. There were tears all around. And this absolute peace, calm and peacefulness that settled over the 3 of us that evening as we went back to our Omani guest house, relaxed with the most amazing food, and just soaked in the amazing experience that we had. My advice to you, live it up while you're here. The local Emirati people here in the United Arab Emirates are the most beautiful people. They really care about their country. And as a guest, I have really enjoyed being a teacher to children who are Emirati and letting them be the most amazing person that they can be. So when you come here, there's a basic rule that I think you really need to work towards achieving, and that's respecting the local customs and culture. The easiest way to do that, and I was advised before I got here, cover your shoulders, cover your knees. And then you don't attract the kind of attention that you don't really want. You just fit right in. Now, for me, I'm incredibly tall, and so I kind of stand out anyway. But I just made it that one step easier for myself, which was cover my shoulders, cover my knees, and just be respectful at all times. I'm a guest, and I've been incredibly lucky with the experiences that I've had in this country that is incredibly diverse. 200 different nationalities live here. It's stunning to see all these people coexist in a country that's doing pretty well. So if you're coming here and you're coming here to enjoy the culture that's out there, there are lots of things that you can do. Brunches, pool days, hotels actually give passes so that you can go in and use their facilities for the day. And the best time, in my humble opinion, is when the summer heat goes off and our winter kicks in here. It is the most beautiful time of the year. So, I hope you enjoyed that little snapshot of some of the things that I've enjoyed. I hope that if you're going to come and enjoy your experience here in the United Arab Emirates, that you make the most of every single experience possible. It has helped shape me to be a really good, honest, kind person. So I'm going to leave you here. In the next video, I'm going to share a little bit about what it was like being a teacher here during the pandemic and the sorts of teaching that I would do. So I'm going to leave you here, and if you want to follow me on my journey, I think you know everything that everybody else would tell you to do, which is to subscribe to my channel, like it, and notifications. So at this stage, I plan on putting a video out once a week. There's a lot going on here at the moment as I prepare, and we are still in the middle of a pandemic. So I'm currently waiting on the borders for my new country. No, not telling just yet. There are some people that know. Yes, because I've got a big mouth. So, like, subscribe, and see you again soon.